What's up, everybody? How's it going tonight? We're back again. It's Thursday night here in the beautiful town of Cockeysville. And we're streaming live. So today's going to be a little bit different. As you can tell, we've already got some music, and I need to figure out how to make this all work. So today we're back again. It's now what, March 18th, and actually I was really kind of on the edge today because I was sitting around here kind of not doing too much, well, trying to get things together, and suddenly it was like, oh my gosh, it's 7:51. Oh my goodness. What's going on, Yellow, sorry. Hello, Cartool, how are you? Good to see you. Welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in. We're back. It's Thursday, March 18th, and we're going to be doing our usual coffee and cigars. I'm Jay, your host, and today's a little bit different in that I've got a lot of new back-end stuff that's been going on this past week since the last show that I'm trying to implement tonight. First of all, we're using this new system called Ecamm Live. Normally we use StreamYard, but today I thought we'd try the Ecamm, and so I've been setting it up, trying to make it work. And where is all the controls here? Okay, that's not. Oh, they're way over there. Okay, sorry about this. Hold on one second. Let me just grab these here. So, like I said, I was sitting there. Suddenly it's 7:51, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm totally not ready. All right, so now we're here. Okay, so like. All right, we've got some underlays. Let me see here. We've got... Why is that not showing? Oh, there we go. There we go. Thursday night, OnoLive. Welcome. We're going to be smoking tonight. It's going to be having the CAO Arcana Mortal Coil, which is a new cigar that just came out last month. And then we're going to be smoking... we're going to be drinking some cigars. Tonight's coffee is going to be the Perla Negra, right? Perla Negra. And this is... an anaerobic fermented coffee from Nicaragua that's made for us by the Mirish family. And I'll tell you more about that as we get into it. I'm actually going to be brewing it in a way that's a little bit different than what we've been showing in the past. Let me just get some things out of the way here. So I've also incorporated, besides this new streaming software, I've also incorporated a new audio backend. So I'm using this mixer audio interface called the Rodecaster Pro. So hopefully this sounds better than it has sounded in the past. All right, let's pull this around here. We need our boxes to level up our... So let me know how it sounds. If it sounds off or too much noise, can you hear? I'm actually finally using headphones to see if I can hear what's going on. But anyway, so... we're going to be drinking this coffee. It's the Perla Negra. And this... Focus? Maybe it won't focus. I don't know what it's going to do. Come on now. Is the settings on? Oh, I don't know what's going on with this thing. This thing is crazy. Anyway, we're just going to roll with it like that. Okay, there it is. So the Perla Negra, we call it the Black Cappuccino. It doesn't really focus for some reason. Let's see here. There's got to be some kind of adjustment I need to make on the camera. Not that. Not that. Maybe this. Not that. Okay, that's not working. Never mind. We'll just roll with it. So if you're out there, drop in the comments what you're drinking, what you're smoking, where you're smoking. But anyway, so the Perla Negra, the Black Pearl, is actually a type of coffee that's grown for us by the Mirish family in Nicaragua, and they're down in the Matagalpa area. Matagalpa is about 2 hours. No, actually, it is about 3 hours northeast of Managua, whereas Esteli's 3 hours kind of northeast. Something like that. And the Mirish family is a great family. They've been growing coffee for generations. Really a fantastic group of people to work with. And back in 2015, they started, maybe it was 2014, they were cultivating this new style of processing coffee. So typically coffee is processed in a wash. So basically once it's harvested, they separate the seeds from the husk of the cherry, and then they put it in water bath and let it ferment and then dry it out. And that, this style, what they're doing is that they're not only taking the cherries, the beans out of the cherry and leaving the pulp on the beans, then they're putting them into bladders, rubber bladders that are that reduce the amount of oxygen the coffee is exposed to. So they give the term anaerobic fermentation. I don't really believe that it's truly anaerobic in the sense that there's no oxygen. There is some amount that remains. But anyway, the idea is that it creates a malolactic fermentation. So it takes the malic acids and turns them into lactic acids. And so the result can be very milky characters. And so the extreme would be blue cheese, like a really pungent blue cheese kind of thing, where the lesser effect can be a milky character. And so that's kind of what we've been focusing on for the last, 6 years with them now, is producing coffee that has a light milkiness and a light sweetness to it. So that's what we get with this, the Perla Negra. And yeah, it's been great. So actually what had happened is when we first found out, Eliane, who's the woman, the sister that runs the operation, we were tasting coffees. I think it must have been 2015, and she's like, you try this coffee at the end. Let me know your thoughts. And I really loved it because it really, as it cooled, it had this beautiful, sweet, milky character to it. So kind of like a really nice cappuccino was the characteristic that I got from it. I was just so blown away by it, and I thought to myself, well, this would be a great coffee to use for our iced coffee. So since that time, we've been using it mostly for our iced coffee. A lot of our guests will buy it to brew at home in their own way, but at the shop, we're actually using it just for iced coffee. And so I thought I'd make that for you guys today. And we're going to make it in a way that's a bit different. Like, I didn't really think about doing this as a cold brew iced coffee until maybe about 2 hours ago. And then by then it's too late, because the actual process that we use at the stores to create the cold brew, whether we're using it in batch cold brewing or in cold brew towers, takes 16 hours or so. So that's a bit not possible. So tonight I'm going to show you another way of doing it that I learned from my favorite place in Japan. There's a cafe in Ginza called Cafe dell'Ombre, and that's actually my favorite cafe in the world. And so I've been following those guys and kind of, trying to figure out and understand their techniques for, over 10 years now. And so I finally have figured it out. And what we're going to be using today is we're going to be using this thing called the Nail Drip. And this is basically a flannel cotton filter that is wrapped around a metal filter holder. And it's really something that they only use in very traditional cafes in Japan and maybe some really pretentious places here in America. So we're going to take 18 grams. So it's a little bit different. We're taking 18 grams of coffee of the Perla Negra. We're going around it pretty coarse. Oh, this is very irritating. Why it's not doing that. Anyway, we're going to take that. And I've got our little pot here. So this is a tin-lined copper pot that is actually, so pretty much everything I'm using, like the kettle, this red kettle you see every week, this is actually designed by the owner of Cafe dell'Ombre. Specifically this crane-beaked pouring spout that, that pours it in a very controlled way. I'm not as controlled as the guys in Japan. And so this is a pot they created. It's hand-hammered and, man, really nice, actually. I've waited a long time to get this one. Anyway, so we're going to take the flannel, and the flannel is pretty wet, so it's damp right now. Okay, so we're going to take that. We're going to put the coffee in, just kind of shake it around. And we're going to say hello to some of our friends out there. George Shem is out there. Hello, George. Welcome again. No cigar tonight, just some Crystal Light Pink Lemonade. Watch the NCAA tournament. And Ono, excellent choices in viewing there. And then we have Rob. Rob's a good buddy from the Curtis Judd podcast that he runs. And Rob runs his own podcast on Sunday nights at 10:30 p.m. You could check it out. And Rob says, mention that cappuccino tasting note. Given the milky characteristic, would this coffee work well or be too much? No, I think it would work well. You could use this in a espresso. However, like I tend, when I think about espresso and developing an espresso blend, usually I'm looking for coffees that will blend together to create a contrasting note. So for example, when I say like when we're making a cappuccino like milk or like flat white or lattes, I would prefer a coffee that has a contrast to the milkiness, right? So I tend to go for, if I'm left to my own devices, right, and our primary espresso is like this. Our goal is to create a blend of coffees that will offer nice cacao notes, some fruit, berry fruit, like maybe a light hint of berry fruit, and then a nuttiness on the finish. So to me, that kind of espresso is one that you can drink by itself and be very satisfied by it. And then you can also mix it with milk and it stands up well and gives nice contrast, right? So a lot of people in America, American coffee or even Australian coffee like to go now for like very light roasty, very bright citrusy notes. I tend to, and they can be nice as their own espresso, but I tend to think that citrusy high note clashes with the milk. Now, everybody's different, so your mileage may vary. But in my own psychosis, that's how I see it, right? And so let's get into it. So we've got our kettle, and like always, I've got the shit. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna get demonetized here. This is the big thing that I always worry about. I know I say this a couple times, is that as I'm pouring from the big kettle that's actually off the boil, I'm always afraid that I'm going to pour it on my legs, because really I'm wearing shorts. As most people in the COVID Zoom world are doing, I'm wearing shorts. Sorry, let me bring this up a little bit. So, Rob, I hope that answered your question there. Let me pull that off of this. Yeah, Rob, I'm finally using this Ecamm Live. I don't know what you're using on your show, but all right. So here we go. We're gonna pour the coffee. So I'm just going to go really light. One of the issues is I can't really see. Let me stand up here. Okay, I'm gonna. So we're pouring, and I'm just trying to saturate and hydrate the coffee without necessarily letting it drip too hard. There we go. It's starting to drip through. You can kind of see here how it looks, right? All right, going in more. So here's the thing. So the Lambre recipe is 18 grams of relatively medium coarse ground coffee. I've got a little bit finer than they probably do it in the shop in Tokyo. But what they do is they actually have a style of brewing so that if you wanted to have it a really concentrated brew, like maybe 50 mils, they would brew it. So 50, 80, and 100 mils from 18 grams of coffee. Now, compared to our normal Western gold cup standard, these are all concentrated coffees. Even the 18 at 100 is much more concentrated. Like, we're normally using 24 grams for 350 mils to make an 12-ounce cup, right? So we're only using 18 grams for far less. So we're really just kind of pulsing, keeping the grinds wet. My obsession with this style of brewing and what they're doing at Café de l'Ombre is actually so much so that here at the roastery, when we built the roastery out and put a little coffee outlet, it's actually a mimic of what they're doing. So this is actually how we would brew here at the bar in the roastery. when we were open. We actually closed. I actually closed it because of COVID. So whenever things change from COVID, we'll probably reopen this because I think it's a fun. We normally open for 3 days a week, and it's a fun way to brew coffee. And all right, so we've got maybe a little bit more. We'll do a little bit more. You know, so for years, I would go to this cafe in Ginza, right? And they're brewing exactly like this, from a nail drip into these copper pots. And the master there, Fujihiko Hayashi, he would always be brewing. And he's got a really, like, interesting technique. He's very meticulous. He's got all this flair and style to what he's doing. And I always wondered, like, how did he know when to stop? Like, years I'm watching this guy brewing the coffee, and that there's always a moment when he finishes his brew and he stops. And I always wondered, like, how does he know? Like, he must be so in command of what he's doing that he knows how to do this. And I was always so, like, impressed. Finally, I asked his wife, who also works there, about how does he know it? She pointed out that right here on the back it's really difficult to see. Like, even if I'm right up on it right now, it's hard for me to see. But there's actually lines etched. There's a little tiny, like, notch etched into the metal to show you where the level is. It doesn't say what level it is, but you know, it's close. All right. So Rob says, using bean latte, you might miss the milky characteristics. Yes. I mean, you could use this. I'm not saying you can't use it. It could. I think it'd be very good. Yeah, I think it'd still be very good. I can't say that it's bad. It's a great coffee on its own. It just has that milkiness that maybe. I mean, I have punched this through the espresso machine a couple of times when we kind of ran low. All right, so I know what I need. Hold on 1 second. Gonna need the glass. All right, so now that we've got our brew, the next step is to chill it down and make it into iced coffee. So to do that, we're gonna use this shaker. It's a real basic shaker, right? So we're gonna take it, pour the coffee into the shaker. Wow, that's still pretty hot. Okay. Put that on. Normally at their shop, they would actually rinse this under cold water, but I'm not going to do that. So next thing is to take ice. This one's going to be a little bit more cantankerous because it's not quite exact. And so the idea is to put this at the shop. And when we did this here at the roastery, we actually have a big block. And you put this on a block and you spin it, right? And because it's this thin stainless shaker, it's actually transferring the heat really rapidly. And the way that it actually chills is surprising. Like, you watch them do it, it's like there's videos online you can see from. Oh yeah, that's pretty chilled. We'll do it a little bit more spinning. A little bit more spinning here. Oh yeah. All right, that's good. I think that's good. Perfect. And we're gonna get some ice. I'm really disappointed this camera is suddenly not focusing. All right, so now we're just going to take this off and pour it over. And now we have iced coffee. All right. Ah, yes, nice. Actually, so there is nice cacao notes, like a dry cacao tonight. And some of that milkiness does come through at the end. It is got a little bit of sweetness to it. Oh, that's nice and refreshing. So a great idea that I would normally do in some situations is make some cold brew like this, right? Then freeze them in ice cube trays. Then use that frozen iced coffee in cubes as the ice cubes to keep the cold. That way you never dilute the coffee. So that's a tip for you to check out when you're at home. All right, so let's move forward now. Put that aside over here. Move this aside. All right, we're going to move into our cigar of the week. Again, we're getting the cigars from the Tobacco Leaf in Jessup, Maryland. So give Rahul a call. Also, don't forget that in the coming weeks, I still haven't settled the date, but it's going to be towards the end of April. We're finally going to do our cigar night with Aganorsa. So we're going to be doing the Aganorsa leaf. Which one are we doing? We're doing the... Oh, here it is. Sorry. We're going to be doing the rare leaf exclusive Robusto, and then it's also coming with the 2 tasting sticks of the 2 different wrapper leaves that they're using. And Michael King is going to be from Aganorsa, is going to be coming on the show to kind of lead us through the whole tasting experience with the little cigar leaves, and then with the rare leaf exclusive. So be sure to tune in for that. But also before that, make sure you give Rahul a call at 410-799-2094. Tell him you want the show pack. It's going to include one cigar of each. So the Robusto and then the 2 tasting sticks. Those are $15 for the pack and $23 shipped anywhere in the country. So if you're in the area, you come by and stop, pick it up. It's $15, or he'll ship it out to you anywhere for just an additional $8, so $23 total. And while you're at it, you might as well order some cigars with him. He'll probably give you a good deal on it. So let's move on. We're going to move on now to the cigar of the week. And the cigar of the week, oh, you know what? Before we start the cigar of the week, I have something for you guys. We're going to go to this first. I don't know about you guys, but that's the very first time I've ever seen a cigar company create a trailer for their cigar. All right, that's... Oh, and while we're here, sorry, I'm waiting for all this thing to... Rusty's out there. Hey, guys, no cigar, but just brewed a Guatemala Huehuetenango from a local roaster by V60. Excellent. And how far in advance for Rahul? Rahul should start... We'll have it probably this week, I think. I'll have to double check with him. I haven't talked with him in the past week, so I will check up with him and let you guys know by next week. But we're definitely going to push it until with enough time for you guys to get it before the show happens. It's not going to be like, oh, we're going to do it next. We're going to do it next week, right? I'm really pushing towards Michael to do it towards the end of April. All right, so here we are. This is the Arcana. I don't know how much it's cost. Where is it? All right, good. All right, so let's open it up. So the wrapper is pretty dark. Like, and I know it might be a little bit lighter looking on the... Oh, let me see something here. This is really... Hang on one moment. Yeah, it is on. Okay. All right. Tom says it's on. Of course, it's not doing any of it. Very disappointing. Anyway, so this is the Arcana, the CAO Arcana Mortal Coil Robusto. And it said, I was reading something about it, and it said that the wrapper, or the band, if you can figure out how to get it off, is longer than the cigar. Oh, there we go. Oh, interesting. All right, so we're going to take it, we're going to unband it. There it is. Arcana Mortal Coil. Look at that. It's longer than, it is longer than the cigar. Oh. Arcana CAO Mortal Coil. Oh, that's interesting. So here's the cigar. It's got pretty dark wrapper. Why is it? Sorry, it's not really showing it well. But it's pretty dark looking. Feels kind of silky and lightly oily. There's an interesting spicy aroma to the wrapper. That's quite interesting. Yes, kind of, I want to say it's like a barnyard manure, but it's not quite the same. Maybe it's a sweet barnyard manure kind of aroma. Fascinating, fascinating, fascinating. Actually, I'm quite intrigued by this. All right, so let's cut it open. We're going to do our official cutting was with the MTX tool. Oops. So we're going to hold it up here. Oh, interesting. The cap's a little bit off balance, right? It's a little bit... Of course, you can't see that. What is going on with this thing? I changed some of the settings earlier. Maybe that's what happened. Like I changed the recording format. Let's go to that. Let's go back to our old setting. Nope. Anyway, how's the picture tonight? Like the other StreamYard on the trial version or the free version, they only stream 720. I believe this is streaming at 1080, so theoretically it should look nicer. All right, so I just cut it. Hopefully that looks better. Oh, let's have a taste. There's a unique and interesting flavor, or aromatic, dry, cold draw. Kind of like cloves, maybe a little bit of star anise. Ah, good. I'm glad to see that, Rusty. Thank you for telling me. Fascinating. This is fascinating. This is actually quite fascinating. All right, we're going to light the cigar now. We're going to be using matches. Because I feel like it's the challenge of your cigar smoking skills if you can, you know, by using matches. Anybody can use a torch and burn it, right? Okay, one more. We're gonna need one more. Okay. All right, that's lighting strangely. Look, it's got this weird, like, can't really see it because it won't focus. Sorry. But it's kind of got this weird thing jutting off, right? You can kind of see it at this, here you can see it at this distance, right? That's this black part. That's kind of that's lit. Okay, that's lit. But it's strange. Like I was reading in the Half Wheel article on this that Patrick LeGrade had some problems with tar buildup at different points of the cigar. So that's hopefully not happening here. Although it kind of has that look. So one thing about the sound for tonight, can you guys hear the fans blowing? I think I can hear them in the headphones. Like I'm trying to use the headphones today to see if I can hear the sound better. Yeah, you're right, Rusty. I can't seem to get this camera to focus in this week. Same camera from last week. Same settings. I just checked the settings for the close, far kind of thing. But for some reason, it's just not. If I hold something up to it, or the bag, like the bag's pretty big. It's taking up most of the frame. And it's not. I didn't have this problem last night when I did a test on it. Ugh. This is very frustrating. And anyway, we're starting off with the CAO Arcana Mortal Coil Robusto. And so this is a really interesting cigar. It is, where in the world? Okay, so it's a 6 and 1/8 inches in length with a 50 ring gauge. And it's made in Nicaragua in Esteli at the STG Esteli factory. And it's utilizing, here we go. Rob says those fans are, yeah, gosh, I can't. I've got fans blowing through here to try to keep the smoke moving. There's actually a big box fan. Usually it's, you guys have been seeing it over in here the last several weeks. I kind of moved it over there somewhere. But I guess it's not far enough. Plus, I've got this on the microphone that I'm using. I've got the gain pretty set high. So for you, Rob, like you would know this, like I'm using the Electro Voice RE20. Whoa, right? And it requires a lot of gain in order to push to get the right sound. But by pushing the gain so that I can keep it without having to be on top of it, right? So I can be what I'm about, about 8 inches away from the diaphragm. You do have to bring the gain up so I can hear that. I can hear it. I don't know what I'm asking. I can hear it. Well, we'll try to do better. We'll try to do better in the future. Anyway, so this cigar has a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper from the United States. It also has a Connecticut shade binder from the United States, and those two are holding together a filler that's made up of Dominican, Honduran, and Nicaraguan fillers There are Andullo and Piloto Cubano from the Dominican. There is tobacco from the Jamastran Valley in Honduras. And then there is Esteli tobacco from Nicaragua. And, here's the nice thing is, like, these guys, CAO, is giving us details, like Connecticut Broadleaf USA, Connecticut Shade USA. They're telling Andullo y Piloto Cubano, Jamastran Valley, Honduras. These are like nice details that give a little bit of context to the smoking experience, the enjoyment of the cigar, so you understand a little about the cigar without necessarily telling you, like, it doesn't have to be like this farm and this batch lot, and now what I mean by that, like all of like we talk to like cigar manufacturers and they're like, well, it has Fitz tobacco filler. Well, Dominican and it has Dominican filler. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit more? I mean, I think by knowing this, it gives people a better understanding and a greater enjoyment of the product because they understand more about it. It doesn't mean by giving away your secrets to tell you how to do it. And then Rob saying, which is why your voice sounds so smooth. Well, thank you, baby. Thank you. I've also got the big bottom and the Aphex Oral Exciter running on the Rodecaster Pro. So we have Aphex and Rode to thank for that. Anyway, but like I'm saying, so actually right now, okay, so we're just starting. Actually, it's got this nice complexity of flavor, deep tobacco notes, some chocolate, nice spices, some more of that kind of clove, but not like clove cigarette kind of clove spice, just a nice smooth like clove, some of that star anise, which is really, it's starting off quite enjoyable. And to be honest, it's kind of a surprise. What I mean by that is that, these are, CAO was bought out by General Cigar many, many years ago now. And when you think of cigars made by like the big cigar companies, at least I tend to feel that cigar people that are really into cigars, that the general tide is that cigars made by General and these big cigar conglomerates kind of like don't really excite a lot of cigar smokers. And so I'm surprised how well this is smoking now. Like right now, this is quite enjoyable, quite interesting. There's a nice amount of complexity, some good depth. Yeah. So these cigars, MSRP is $10.99, and they're made in bundles. They're boxed in bundles, or not bundles, but they're boxed in boxes of 20. And let me pull up the Half Wheel article, so I'll show you what they look like. The boxes are kind of interesting. Like they've done some interesting stuff, and CAO does some pretty interesting. Here you can see that, right? Okay, that's a lot. Okay, so as you can see, it's an interesting box. It's all wood. The CAO tends to kind of, as a company itself, it tends to bounce against a lot of just kind of against the industry. So like what they've done things like they've made all kinds of like lines named after countries like the Brazil, or they've named them after operas. They've named it for gearheads, for like motors and stuff. Motorcyclists, they've named them after fermentation techniques. They've named their things after TV shows, like the Sopranos one. And I think they even did the what's the one, Sons of Anarchy, right? So they've done a lot of. I think they do a lot of. They've kind of marketed themselves in an interesting way that other cigar companies haven't. And, I guess to General's credit, they have kept that kind of funky interest going. And even like this, Arcana, I don't know if it's Arcana or Arcana, but Arcana, it's a term that means secrets or mysteries, right? And then the mortal coil. Like in the Shakespeare, to be or not to be soliloquy, he's talking about being cast off from this mortal coil. So the question is this cigar, what is this cigar supposed to be about? Like, what is the meaning behind this name? you know. And oh, we got Jai Dai. Hello, Dai. What's going on? Good to see you, man. Welcome. And then Rusty's saying, yeah, it's all about very different. Just like, exactly. The 10 count visions, very interesting. But what is the question I'm wondering is like, what is this cigar supposed to be about? Like, what is the messaging, right? Like, you know, this mortal coil is really kind of, it's when you think of the term, it's really about the troubles of daily life, the strife and suffering around the world. So is that what this cigar is about? It's a commentary on the strife, or maybe is this a commentary on the suffering of COVID? Like, is this supposed to be the relief from COVID, from the pandemic? So while you're hiding out at home, hiding from the pandemic, is this supposed to relieve your stress of that? Like, I was listening to NPR today. There's this woman at some like, you know, I can't remember the term, beat up bar, where basically she goes around and she's bashing on everything, you know, like a stress place. You know, is this supposed to be that, or, you know, or maybe because, like, shuffle off this mortal coil, is this the cigar you're supposed to smoke on your deathbed? Like, before we depart for the river Styx, is this what we're supposed to smoke? These are the questions that we can ask ourselves. But this, right now, is quite interesting. It's got heaviness. It's got flavor. Tobacco. Like, it's not one of those things where I'm, like, picking out all kinds of, like, you know, these floral descriptives. But it's kind of like what Skip Martin would say, man-bacco, right? It's got tobacco flavor, robustness, complexity, depth. It's got enjoyment. You know, it's so far at this first third, it's quite good, quite enjoyable. You know, I don't know if you know the history of the CAO. CAO started by a guy named Kenno Osgener, and I don't know too much about his history, but unfortunately he passed away several years ago. But he created a great legacy, made wonderful cigars. I got to meet Kenno years ago, and his daughter Eileen, from a friend of mine, Peter Gunn, who was a tobacconist here, who was a good friend of ours, and we were down in Texas, in San Antonio, for the IPCPR show back in the year 2000. And I think that's when he introduced me to Eileen. And of course, I was kind of smitten with Eileen. She was really quite cute and really friendly, really nice. Of course, I'm hanging out with one of their customers, so of course she's nice. So Rusty's asking, is it medium? So medium full body? I would say more medium. Not too medium full. Like if you were to smoke like a Revenge, that's going to be more medium full. This is less, right? This is less. But still enjoyable. Still very enjoyable. Well, thank you, Rob. I'd be very happy to come on and host to become the guest on the show. So if you guys haven't seen Rob's thing, he's actually with one of his buddies, and he is reviewing different movies, and it's quite an interesting experience to watch and to listen and to hear the different theories. And also, it's 10:30 on Sunday night, so if you're going to watch, I would suggest to prepare yourself and drink coffee, because, man, these guys will go till 2 a.m., maybe even longer. You know, you remind me of Alan Williams from Sound Speeds because of that, because if you ever watch Alan's, so there's a guy that does Sound Speed on YouTube. He does live streams. He does like 4 or 5 hour live streams. He did that one special he did was like 15 or 18 hours. Like, I would watch that day, go to work. Like, I'd watch in the morning for a little bit, go to work, watch a couple times at work, go home, go do whatever I'm doing, like after work wise, for hours. He's still broadcasting. Man, he's broadcasted, I think, all night long. It was pretty amazing. Well, I was trying not to say that she was hot, but she really was. I was like, oh my gosh, she's beautiful. Gosh, and this is going to be on like, this is going to be preserved forever. So I'll be caught eventually. Oh, tell your mom I said hello. Good to see you. Yeah, and you guys do, you really do. Like I can't. I'll be honest with you, I can't hang the whole show. I'm like, oh my god, it's like 12:30. I need to go to bed now. Especially since I got to do stuff on Monday morning. So it's like, oh god. All right, so we're still rolling. It's quite nice, and so here's the interesting thing. Like, let's bring back our friends from Half Wheel again. No. We'll just go over their notes. So the interesting thing, this was just released last month. So typically before we do a show, I'm out there looking online to see what or who has written reviews about it. And I'm really looking for written reviews because as much as we're doing this on YouTube, I don't really watch the YouTube cigar reviews. I'm sorry to say. I watch some of them. I'll watch Cigar Obsession every once in a while. But really, I'm just trying to look for. I like the written words so that I can just scan, right, and then take my notes to just kind of review. And so right now, the only written review that I've been able to find is from Half Wheel and Patrick Legrade, and his just came out. I guess in last week's show on the 11th, it just came out. So for his review, he actually smoked 3 of these. And he had some very interesting results. Like his aroma he came out with damp pepper, beef chow mein. There was a meatiness, noodly kind of flavor, steamed vegetables, aromas of sunflower seeds. I mean, there is definitely something unique about the aroma of this wrapper, like a sweet barnyard is what I was saying. I did not get any beef chow mein. That could be because I had pad thai before I came out here. Which was not terribly successful. Well, flavor-wise, the pad thai was successful. However, execution-wise, no. The perfect pad thai still eludes my walk. All right, so the cold draw for Half Wheel had a real dryness to it, saltine crackers, light pepper. He had, I guess, cold draw of deli sliced turkey, some sweetness. There was some tingling on his lips from the. I didn't get any of that. None of that. I mean, it's almost as though he was smoking a completely different cigar than what I'm smoking now. So I said earlier on when I was lighting it, like that one part that was here that was kind of really dark and wasn't really lighting, I was kind of worried that might be some tar. The reason I said that is because in Patrick's review, he did say in his first third he got some tar. And that gave some kind of like this burnt lejero, kind of sweetness to it. I'm not really sure if his tar was that negative either. I think it was somewhat positive. But I didn't get any really tar. There was no tar for me. He got tar, sour. It was chalky, metallic, and bitter. Like he gets damp earth, Well, I guess you could. He talks about damp earth and damp tree bark. I guess I can see something like that. There's definitely a weightiness on the palate. The burn is going pretty well. Can't go close because it's not zooming in. It's not. Oh, you know what? Maybe it's because. Did that adjust it? I'm afraid the only way to get this to reset is for me to turn it off, and that kind of goes against the what we're trying to do here. But the burn is going well, right? It's going well. You can see that, right? Okay. Maybe what I can do. Oh, I know what I can do. I can take this camera Ah, yeah, here we go. Okay, oh, there we go. See? There. We're going to zoom in. Got it? Okay. Now, one thing about wearing headphones, it gets a little bit sweaty. On my other pair of headphones, I've got these thing called headphone socks, and they're designed for like location sound people. And so when I used to do location sound, that's what I would put on my other headphones so that it wouldn't get all like moist. So Patrick's reporting medium flavor, medium plus body, strength is below medium. Yeah, I think in that respect, I would say flavor's got nice flavor, medium to medium plus flavor. Body is more medium for me. Strength is also kind of medium-ish. Oh, Di says just order a box from Mexico. Make sure you tell them that you saw it here. Well, I hope you enjoy them. And then Rusty's asking, what about earbuds or AirPods? You know, the AirPods, right? I've got a pair, and actually it was kind of strange. Like I was avoiding them for the longest time. And then maybe about 2 or 3 months after they were released, so I guess I didn't avoid them for very long. I happened to be out in Northern California. I flew out there. I was there for like a day or two. And I drove to the Apple headquarters. This is before they moved to the new big monstrosity that they're in now. But this is in the original Cupertino campus. And so I went there because I've always been a Mac user, right? So I wanted to check it out. And I heard they have a store there. So I went to their Apple store, and I wanted to see what they had for sale that they don't normally sell. Like, did they have any cool shirts? And they had some shirts, but you know, all those skinny hipster mothers out there, they're not for like men with tummies. So no shirts, at least not for me. But the girl that I was talking to, she's like, we've got the AirPods and they're sold out everywhere else. And I was kind of skeptical, so I popped out the phone, looked it up on the Apple store. Yep, sold out. She had them there. She's like, would you like to try them? I was like, well, okay, I'll try them. I tried them. They're cool. Then I got in the mood. So I bought a pair. This is like April of that year that they came out. They sat on my desk in the box for 6 months. So fast forward to like October, and I think it was around that time that I finally decided, well, I should open these before it's like, or maybe it was a year. And so I started using them, and usually I've used them on my trips. So like really where I was using them mostly is like as I would be like in, let's say, Tokyo, for example, and I was going from some place to some other place, and I'm riding on the subway. When I'm on the subway, I'm actually wearing them, listening. However, the way that my ears are designed, like you're supposed to wear the AirPods with the stick facing down, right? The part that has the microphone facing down. Like if I do it that way, they'll fall out. They just kind of tumble out. So my ears don't work with that. Maybe there's just too much chubbiness around the ears. But anyway, what I have to do is I turn them up so my sticks are facing up, and then they'll stay and they won't come out. So I think they work fine. The sound is nice. Oh, Rob's taking off. All right, Rob, good to see you. Thank you for coming down. Really appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us. Catch you later. Have a great one out there. And so the AirPods are nice, right? I do use them, but really when I'm traveling. The thing for me is that I'm kind of like old school in this respect, is that I like the wires. Actually, I don't like the wires. I don't like how the wires are like in the way. Like right now, this coiled cable for my headset is actually kind of dangling, so I've got to tuck it around, and I'm actually tucking it into my shorts so that it kind of like doesn't like droop down and pull down on my neck, right? So I like the wired because it's super easy for connectivity. Like even my keyboard for the computer is hardwired. Now the mouse isn't. The mouse, I'm using the MX3 here. But for a lot of things, I do like it wired, just because it's just much more secure. Even like the internet for the stream is actually hardlined. But the other ones should be fine. I'm not even sure though. I don't know if the mixer, this Rodecaster Pro, will actually connect with Bluetooth for wireless microphones. I think it's only wired. But I think you get a better response. You know, there's no latency that way, and it's always connected. Like, you don't have to worry about trying to connect, right? And earbuds, I think earbuds are fine too. You know, like for my traveling, I do use earbuds mainly. Like I've got these earbuds that I buy off of eBay, Amazon. And I tend not to spend a lot of money on earbuds. Like I buy pretty cheap earbuds. Like the ones I'm using now are like $13. Mainly because it's just easier. Like I'm going to lose them, right? Or I'm going to break them. Like for me, you know, I'm sitting in these chairs, and especially if I'm trying to plug in. Like remember how in the airline seats they would have the headphone outlets in the arms, especially when they have them on the side of the arm, right? Like you have the arm, right? Sometimes they put them at the end of the arm, right? The part that faces into your like row, but sometimes they put it here, right on the side. Well, here on the side for chubby guys like me is not a good thing, especially if you have one that's straight, right? If it's a straight plug like this, that's going to break because I'm going to sit back and it's going to break and get ripped off, and that's just going to make me unhappy. So I've done that with a lot of earbuds. So I try to buy cheap ones. And to be honest with you, like people talk about, oh, you know, the fidelity sucks and it doesn't sound very good. But, you know, here's the reality. If I want really good fidelity, then I want to be listening to my music or whatever in a much more critical environment. When I'm sitting on a plane at 35,000 feet, trying to watch a movie or listen to, like, you know, music, it kind of doesn't, I really don't think that there's much advantage in spending, you know, hundreds of dollars on, let's say, Beats by Dre or any of those things. Because the number one thing is that I'm in a metal tube rolling at 500 miles an hour, and what's outside? That is not a critical listening environment. So I tend not to worry about that. And Bud says, AirPods won't last the whole show. Yeah. That's probably true. And also Bud saying, not using StreamYard anymore. Ecamm uses, does it use less screen space? Actually, this Ecamm, so here's the interesting thing. So Ecamm is pretty powerful. And there's videos you can see how that show the whole, there's actually a lot of little palettes on my screens that cover camera effects, comments and reactions, sound level, scenes, overlays, and then sound effects. My favorite one, which I don't know how to control the volume on. That's pretty loud. Oh, there we go. How about that's better? I just love that one. Everybody, it's like the most famous one. I suddenly feel like I'm like successful in something. But anyway, the Ecamm, in some respects, I think Ecamm is very powerful. It is a very powerful setup, but it's application based, meaning that I had to download software, put that on the computer, and then it runs from the software. Where StreamYard is web based. So, like for example, if I'm running it, like when we were in Western Maryland, and before January, I was running it off my laptop, the old 2013 MacBook Air, which is relatively underpowered, which is why early on in these broadcasts back in the summer, we were having a lot of sync issues, right? Like I could not do this on the laptop, meaning that I'm running sound into the computer separate than the camera feed, right? So these are actually two signals now. So there's a camera image that you're seeing, and then there's the sound that you're hearing. These two are merged in the system itself rather than being merged in the camera. So I would merge them in the camera, or I would send the audio to the camera so that the camera would combine the audio with the video and then send it through the HDMI feed into the computer. On my older laptop, it's so much older and so not so powerful anymore that it has to go that way. Otherwise, it can't match the signals. Now in the newer one, it's much more powerful, and I can go separate signals, which allows us to do a little bit more and hopefully sound and look a little bit better. But being web-based is just it just removes weight from the processor. Like your processor doesn't have to work so much because it's being handled by the server at StreamYard side, right? Whereas Ecamm is being done in the computer. So it's just a different way of approaching it. And the Ecamm is slightly less intuitive. Like I feel like StreamYard's very intuitive. Like just kind of click, 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 click. And it's easy to pull things up. Here, in some ways it's more powerful because you can create a lot more. Like for example, we've got our official lighting card, cutting, cigar, coffee. I can take the questions and comments away. I can, pull this off. Go back to. I can put up here. This is my Instagram. Follow me on Instagram, and or buy coffee, right? And and then we can. We should put up our normal Thursday night OnoLive, and then this is the Cigars one. So I can put these kind of things up, but I have to create them, and it's it's just a different way of doing it. So. And then it does have more camera effects. I can go into the camera effects here and work on picture settings so I can change the brightness, right? Color temperature. I like that better. Maybe add some tinting. Oh, no, too green, a little more magenta. Just work on saturation. Oh, that's too much. So, can you move your comments lower on the screen? So let me close this. Hold on, let me close that. I think so. How does that look, bud? Let me pull that Thursday night OnoLive in. This is going to be helpful because I can sit here and fine tune things. How does that look, bud? A bit better? Maybe even lower. I'd go even lower. Yeah. So Tony V, like I said, you might have missed this earlier, but I did get last weekend this new interface mixer called the Rodecaster Pro, which has onboard effects. So there's something called Aphex, which is an oral exciter and offers like a increased bass response. So you can fine tune the channels to reflect the vocals of whoever's speaking. So it does allow greater flexibility, and I even have things like some effects on board. Things like that you could add. Huh? So it's kind of interesting there. And then Rusty's saying, what if we put the show banner up top? Well, that we could do. Let's try it out. Maybe like that. Move the comments down a little bit here. Drop them in the chat. I'm presuming that right about here, YouTube is putting the OnoLive logo subscribe thing, right? Good. Yeah, the camera effects are pretty cool. Like they've got and to be honest with you, I don't know if maybe StreamYard can do this. I just haven't really seen these options on there. So the other camera options you can do, you can mirror the image, which mirrors it, I guess, from my perspective. I can also rotate it 100 degrees. Oh, God, I'm getting ill now. So there's something called deinterlace, but that's not something you're going to really see. So it does have quite a bit of flexibility. And also what I did get recently this past week, I kind of went a little bit crazy. I got this thing called the Stream Deck, and you really can't see it, unfortunately, but it's this, well, maybe you can. You can see it right here, right? This is the Stream Deck. And if you're not familiar with that, it's this thing where I see a lot of YouTubers using it, and I'm kind of trying to be one of those YouTubers, I guess. But what it does, it has these buttons that you can program to do certain things, to do a variety of things. And like right now, I just have it really programmed simply so that if I hit a button, it'll open certain applications or certain websites. Right now, that's very rudimentary kind of use. But what you can do is really, as you learn it and get into it, like I can program it to do a lot of the things that I would use on screen here. I can program the buttons I can just hit them, and then they will activate whatever feature. So if I want to put multiple cameras on there, I can do that too, right? So Bud's asking, is it free? So StreamYard has a free version, which I've been using, and they also have subscription versions that have more powerful features to them. I'm not really sure what they have. Now with Ecamm, I just downloaded yesterday, and part of the reason I did it yesterday because Ecamm offers a free 15 or 14-day trial. So you can only use it for 2 weeks for free, and you get all of the options. Basically, there's three versions. There's the free trial, there is an intermediate version, and then there's a full-blown full version. I think that one costs like $250 a year on a subscription basis. And this gives you all of the features for 2 weeks. So all the interviews and that you want to do, and it's pretty good so far. Like I can add in movies, sound effects, interviews. If I wanted to bring someone for an interview, it has, like, Streamer, we brought in, Mike Rosales and Sean Coleman for, the interview part. You can do that on Ecamm as well. Actually, these are the two that do it the easiest from what I've been reading or what I've been learning online. And this one is simple. Just like the last time we did this on StreamYard, I just send a link out to whoever the guest is going to be, and then they just follow that link and come onto the stream. All right, so, and Di says El Gato. Yes, El Gato does the Stream Deck. Nice piece, really, really well done. I don't know if you use it yourself, but I'm kind of digging it. And part of the reason why I'm actually leaning towards Ecamm at the moment is, besides all of this, one of the real big things is that El Gato has Stream Deck compatibility, whereas StreamYard does not have Stream Deck compatibility. So, like, I can eventually, like I said, get to doing different functions for the live stream on the Stream Deck, but for Ecamm, but I couldn't do that with StreamYard. Now, StreamYard's saying that they will have that compatibility at some point in the future, but they haven't announced when. So, it's yeah. All right, so let's go back to our cigar, the CAO Arcana Mortal Coil Toro, smoking nicely. I have to say, like, we're really well into the first third. I am enjoying this quite a lot. There's a nice, deep, rich tobacco character to it. Like, honestly, when you read the Half Wheel article, it doesn't sound like he's enjoying it. Like, it doesn't sound very positive. Like his second third, which we're not into yet. But, like, let's say the second third was, he talks about being a chalky, dry, lighter body, some more tar, maybe some Hershey chocolate and cocoa powder, earthy black pepper chocolate, and then he describes something that had some gruffness to it. I don't know what that means, but, those are not, like, the chocolate and the cocoa powder, sure, those are nice. Earthiness, the black pepper is nice, but the chalky dryness and some of the things he said, like the tar and metallic, bitter, sour. Like, that doesn't sound like he was enjoying it. But we'll see. Oh, gosh, there we go. Dropped on me. Oh, we should drink our coffee still. So we've still got the Perla Negra cold brew. Man, you can even hear the tinkling of the glass, huh? That's pretty interesting. So there's a nice heaviness to the coffee that goes really well with this one. I think it's really, this is our Perla Negra. Again, if you use OnoLive on the code OnoLive on our website, let me pull that while I'm doing this, at brewercoffee.com, 10% off. Perla Negra. Yeah, so the ash fell off, but it's smoking nicely. A good amount of smoke. The draw is good. Good amount of resistance. If you didn't happen to see the beginning of tonight's broadcast, I was using the Nell drip to brew the coffee. Like this cloth flannel filter. Let me just knock this out here. And the Nell is really an interesting way to brew. However, I don't know. I mean, like, if you wanted to use something like this, so it's a cloth flannel filter, right? And it can produce a really nice coffee. And I use it because this is what we use here at the roastery shop. But it's used in Japanese traditional kisatens in Japan. And it's really a unique way of brewing. However, the problem with using this at home is that you really kind of have to care for it. Like, you should never allow it to dry out. Right? Because after you've used it and you let it dry out, it actually starts to get more sour, acidic tones to it. And that can be relatively unpleasant. So you always have to be careful. So when we're actively using it, we're always keeping it wet, like either soaking in water or damp. And then when we're doing long-term storage, I have to freeze them. So this was actually in frozen storage until about 2 hours ago. So it's a little bit more intensive as far as care. So it can be a little bit. I think it's a little bit of a cantankerous choice to keep at home. Especially if you're someone that uses a number of different brew methods. Like if you're using it every day and you just keep it kind of damp, you should be fine. But another thing that I should mention, this thing will do green screen as well. So I can turn the green screen on and got some kind of background here. Let's see what they got. Yeah, this is some generic background, but you really have to have a green screen setup or something, a background that is static in color that you can chroma key out. So we've had 1 year of pandemic. We've been home for a year. So did you guys do anything to celebrate? To mark the occasion of this year at home, a year of sequestration. I just worked, like I did last year. It's slowly getting different out there. I mean, like there's a lot more traffic. I'm seeing more and more traffic every week, which is kind of sad because I really enjoyed the lack of traffic. I'm not really looking forward to going back to that. Also, I was reading today that You should stop. People should stop sharing photographs of their vaccine card on social media. Evidently, beyond just your name and there's other information there that can be, I guess, compromising. So maybe the batch codes for the whatever vaccine you got. Mayor of Baltimore today, Brandon Scott, was it today or maybe yesterday? Went out and got his vaccine. Had a public vaccine session where he got the Johnson & Johnson, so he's done. Actually, I was thinking this morning, as I listened to that, I think, you know what? If I was the mayor, I think I would have gone for the Moderna. Only because, you know what? I would want to do 2 because most of the people of my city have done 2. More as an effect for solidarity with the people. Which is probably why I'm not mayor. Although they do say that we're on the verge, we could be on the cusp of another surge. Like, we could have another surge and, But time will tell. Time will tell. And then Biden is saying that he will hit the 100-day goal, vaccination goal early. I'm not sure exactly what that means. So we're getting a little bit of cracking on the wrapper. You can't really see that. Okay, I'm going to hold it back here. And then I'm going to zoom. See that crack right there? American rappers. Are you an American or an Americant? But still smoking nicely. Nice flavor, robust. But not like power, but just robust flavor. But again, it's not like we see all this talk about all these flavors, but really it is kind of like just chocolate, cocoa, earth, some pepper, not too crazy. Like really what the term that comes to mind most is manbacco. It's just, or testosterone, and that kind of like flavor. It's just flavor, good flavor, but not, and tobacco flavor, not like crazy flavor. And Brian said, CAO quality, yeah. But it's actually been an enjoyable cigar, so I can't really bash on it. I mean, it has been sitting in a bag with Boveda for the last couple of weeks, so it's not necessarily a bang on their quality. Oh, Rusty says his goal is 100 million vaccines by his first 100 days. Okay. Got it. Thanks for the clarification on that. And then, but that's opportunity. So this is maybe we can do like, what do they call that? ASMR. Now, I don't know if you guys are, what environment you guys are listening to, or how clear the audio is for you, but like, in my headphones, I'm hearing a click. And I don't know where that's coming from. And it's not perfectly, it's not a perfect, timing. Let me see, hold on. Oh, that's somewhere in here. Oh, you know what I forgot to turn on? There we go. Wanted to turn on our yeah, so that clicky is something in the room. I don't know where that's coming from, but I'm not gonna worry too much about it. Yes, like a metronome, but I don't know what that is. Oh, I think it's the heater. Hopefully it doesn't mean that's going to explode. So make sure you hit your record button so that you can get the recording, or it'll be replayed on YouTube. So Rusty's asking a question about the cigars you review. Do you buy them well in advance and let it sit in the bag? So I tend to buy them several weeks in advance, and I keep them like this cigar, the Arcana, was in this bag. But in this bag I've got, and I find that, like, for example, these Bovedas are actually still very pliable. They're still very, like, see, they're really still juicy. This one's a little bit dry, but this one's still juicy. So and weeks at a time they'll sit like this, and I'm really impressed at how well the bags hold the humidity, especially in the wintertime when it's dry. So, like, what I have in this bag, I've got next week's cigar, which is the Punch Coil Toro. And then I have a little Roma Craft Weaselito that I have been reticent to smoke because I've only had it once. Like, I had this once at the Roma Craft party at the IPCPR show a couple years ago. I really enjoyed it, but I got this as part of the pack that they sent us for the Weasel Fest. And I've just been kind of holding on to it. And then I still have the other of the Mareva, that Rocky Patel, the one that we reviewed several months ago, that was actually quite surprisingly good, except for the burn through, which sucked. So I've been saving this one because I really wanted to revisit it, and I just haven't. You know, typically when I'm smoking by myself, I'm typically catching up on TV shows, so it's like I'm not really paying attention. So I want to give this, like, really good attention. And then I've got the two Vitolas that we're going to be using for the Aganorsa show. So I've got two of these here. These are the two different leaf rolls, and there are the Viso from Jalapa and then a Viso from Esteli. And there's actually a particular order that they should be smoked in that Michael was telling me when he gave these to me about a month ago, and I totally have forgotten which order they are. I think it's the 98 versus the 93. Well, whatever. We'll get into that later. So these have been sitting here, and then I've got a couple other bags of cigars that are sitting around that I pulled for there. I've got this one that has some Headley Grange and a Padron 4000. And then I got this one for myself to try. I was down in Gaithersburg last weekend. This is the PDM. What does that mean? Oh, Pinar Del Mar. Perla Del Mar Corojo. Perla Del Mar Corojo box pressed. I'm going to try that. Then there's a Headley Grange. I don't know if this is a Headley Grange drumstick that just got flattened or if it really was flat. Maybe one of you guys knows which ones. This has been sitting in my humidor. I think it was, like, sitting out of the humidor for a long time. So it was really dry, so I put it in the humidor so it would, like, rehydrate for, like, I think I did it for a year. And then I just pulled it out because I was, I should smoke it. And then I also have a Padron. What is this? This is a Padron 4000. 4000 Maduro. So not bad. And then, like, you're asking Rusty about, like, so these are just for me to smoke. And then this bag has 5 cigars that are going to be on the schedule coming up, and they are where are they? Let me see where they are here. They are a Drunk Chicken Original Gordo, the Tres Lindas Cubana La Mulata Toro, the Black Star Line War Witch Robusto, Carolina Blue Maduro Toro, and then the Emperor's Cut Grand Robusto. So these are actually cigars that we're featuring that are from black-owned brands. And Rahul's doing this promotion that is tied in. Well, that Cirillo kind of was talking about doing is, trying to showcase, black-owned brands that really don't get a lot of play, either in different stores or just in the media in general. So I thought that would be an interesting thing to try, because these are all cigars I've never tried. So it just kind of fits in with what we're doing here on the show, to try new cigars and different cigars. So I've actually got like 7 weeks of shows, cigars here that that we have to use, and that's actually a little bit abnormal. For most of these last 30 some weeks, I've actually only bought like 4 weeks ahead at the most, mainly because I wanted to just not go too far ahead, to leave room so that we could be flexible depending on what's being released. And also just because it gives me, if I was to buy, like, let's say 12 cigars out, then I wouldn't necessarily have to go to the shop for like 3 months. And so I like going to the shop and like hanging out and seeing what's new and seeing what's going on. So it gives me, if I only buy 4 weeks ahead, then it gives me a reason to have to go back, right? So, and then Rusty's also asking, and do you always buy multiples of each cigar? So before, in the early part of the show, when I was trying to have more guests on a regular basis in the studio, I would buy 2 of each. There would only be 2 of each. But probably around November, I stopped buying 2 of each, because that's when we started to pull back on like having in-house guests. So I only started buying 1, which is good, because it kind of saves money. Money's a little bit tight now because of the COVID, but yeah. And Rusty said, does sound like metronome. I thought, no, that wasn't me. I think it's I believe it's the heater ticking away like a bomb. So I don't know if it's just me getting used to the flavor, but it feels a little bit more mellow now. But I think strength-wise, flavor-wise, it's still the same. I think it's more my palate is just kind of customizing it to. Now here's the thing. So in other cigars we've done on the show, when a cigar started to be more static, meaning that it's not, the dynamism of the flavor wasn't changing a lot, it became a little bit more of a chore. This is not at this point now, even though it's relatively static and not very dynamic as far as like changing flavor, it's still an interesting and enjoyable cigar to smoke. I'm still finding it enjoyable. I'm going to knock off some of that ash. The burn has been good. It's getting a little bit, that dryness is causing some of it to kind of rise right here at the edge. Oh, I'm going to drop on. I'm going to drop this on. I'll push that up here. And I should put the coffee as well. There we go. Maybe that makes makes the screen a little more dynamic in that respect. Oh, but I noticed that the logo here, because they've got the Ecamm logo on there. So the Ecamm logo that you're seeing here, because it's the trial version that's free, I can't remove that. However, once you pay for the version, then that can go away. So right now I'm still trying to decide. Well, I'll be working on it. So we're going to use the eCam this week and then next week, and then see how it goes, and maybe go to eCam for good. Ooh, my goodness. So in other news here, for coffee-related news, the shareholders of Starbucks have voted against giving the CEO a pay raise. Smart people. Those guys are making enough money already, and they want a raise. Good Lord. And then, I don't know if you heard about this, but there's a town called LaGrange in New York State. And evidently, there was a guy that just got arrested and was charged because he kept 7 sharks in his pool at his house. So in his house, he had a pool. And in the pool, he has 7 sharks. And he was trying to sell them online to buyers, which evidently this is illegal. I had no idea. I had no idea it was illegal to keep sharks of your own or sell them. But evidently that's illegal. You can't do that in New York. Maybe you can do that in Maryland. I don't know. And then also this past weekend, we had our change to daylight savings time. I don't know how you guys are doing, but did you guys have a lot of issues with moving the hour? I tend to have a little bit of a different perspective. Like, because I normally travel quite a bit, most of my travel is, of course, outside the United States. So I typically will go to places that are like anywhere between 5 to 12 hours difference in time. So, like, I'm used to having to bounce back and forth through time zones and adjust my biorhythm schedule, which can be quite brutal, don't get me wrong. So when I see people like online, they're like, oh my God, this is so much. And it happened, Sunday morning? And they're still complaining on Thursday. So typically when you travel, you get, for every hour of difference, it usually takes your body 1 day to adjust. So if I go somewhere, so let's say if I go to Honolulu, right? And Honolulu is 6-hour difference. They're 6 hours behind us on the East Coast. So right now, while it's 9:30, it's only 3:30 there. So when I go there, it'll take me it'll take the entire week for me to adjust to that time zone, right? If I go to Asia, like the Philippines or Tokyo, which is 12 hours, it takes 2 weeks, right? So if I'm there less than 2 weeks, coming back, it's just like a jumble. But that said, so when people are complaining like a week later that they still haven't adjusted, I just kind of like, well, I don't get it. Yes, exactly. And then Brian says he likes the long sunlight time. I do too. I much prefer long, bright, sunny days than the long, dark nights. Personally speaking, I'm not a big fan of winter. Like, I deal with it because we live here, but when I used to live in Honolulu, I lived there for like 8 years. Like, I never missed the cold weather. Never. And Honolulu is interesting because here's the interesting. Like, we're pretty far up in the latitudes. Like, we're like at one of the tropics, whatever, Tropic of Capricorn or whatever it is, right? We're above that. Whereas Honolulu is down further within the tropics and it's closer to the equator. So there, in that part of the world, they don't follow daylight savings time mainly, and I think part of that's because, like, sunset there year-round is right around 7:30. Like, they don't have 9 o'clock sunsets like we do here. They have 7:30 sunsets all year long. And so that's nice. I don't mind the static. But I do like when we're here, like, man, 9 o'clock, it's still light. Dig it. I'm digging it. Actually, the freaky one was when I was in Edmonton back in the 90s. We used to go to Edmonton, Canada for a paintball tournament every year. And I remember one night we're out in Edmonton on the streets having dinner, drinks, or whatever. We're just having a good time, man. It's like it feels like 6 o'clock, 6 in the afternoon, 6 in the evening, right? The sun's getting kind of low, but it's not dark, right? And we're like, one of the guys was like, what time is it, man? And one of us looked at the watch like, dude, it's like 11:30. It's nearly midnight and it's still kind of light out. I don't know if I like that. That's a bit extreme, but, Like when you go to these places in the world where like there's sunlight like 22 to 24 hours, that's too much. That would drive me crazy. Like what I worry about now for the show that I don't really remember from from last summer is as we're getting closer again to the summer solstice and the longest day of the year and the long days of daylight. Like there'll be, we'll reach a point where it's still going to be sunlight outside, daylight outside when we start the broadcast at 8 p.m. So I'm thinking, like, how do we control? Like, what I'm thinking is, how am I going to control? There's a big window here you can't see, but how do we control the lighting for that? Will that be an issue? I don't know. We'll find out. Maybe I'll get blackout curtains. So this week, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences has released their the Oscars nominations. So let's go through that. I don't know if you guys have seen this yet, but I thought it might be interesting for us to check out. Here they are. The Oscars, actor in a leading role. The nominees are Riz Ahmed for Sound of Metal. Did not see that. Chadwick Boseman, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I don't know if you've seen that, but Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is actually quite good. And Chadwick Boseman, even though he passed away, he was good in that. Actually good enough that I just hated him in it. Like, I really hated his character. Like, I just couldn't stand him. I was like, this guy just needs to get slapped. But so he was great. Anthony Hopkins as in The Father. I didn't see that, but, you know, Anthony Hopkins, always good. Gary Oldman, Mank, I didn't see that either. Again, great actor. Steve Yeun and Minari. Minari is that movie. I haven't seen that yet either. I have them lined up, and I heard that's good. It's about a Korean family that has emigrated to the United States and is farming. I'm not sure what the story is, but evidently it's quite good. And then we've got our actor in a supporting role, Sacha Baron Cohen for The Trial of Chicago 7. I can't imagine Sacha Baron Cohen as a serious actor. I could be wrong. Daniel Kaluuya as Judas and the Black Messiah. Actually, I just got a DVD of that movie. One of my regulars at the shop is a member of SAG, and so SAG has their Screen Actors Guild Awards coming up, and so their members also get free DVDs of all the movies, or at least the ones that are being nominated. Leslie Odom in the One Night in Miami, Paul Raci, Sound of Metal, Lakeith Stanfield, Judas the Black Messiah. Two people from Judas Black Messiah. That's pretty good. Actress Viola Davis. She was great. She was actually really good in that movie. United States versus Billy. I haven't seen that either. That's another movie that I have set up in my queue that I haven't seen. Vanessa Kirby Pieces when Frances McDormand, Nomadland. I heard she did a really great job in that. Carey Mulligan, Promising Young Woman. Animated feature film. Let's see. Onward, Over the Moon, Soul. I heard Soul was good. My nieces have told me Soul was good. Cinematography. Judas, Mank, News of the World. News of the World was pretty good. I saw that. That's the new Tom Hanks movie. Nomadland. Costume design. Directing. Thomas Vinterberg. David Fincher, always good. Lee Isaac Chung, Minari. Chloe Zhao from Nomadland. Emerald Fennell, Promising Woman. Who else do we have here? Documentary short subject. Film edit. Oh, cinematography did that. Don't know any of those guys. Film editing, The Father, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal. Nomadland, Chloe Zhao also edited. She directed and edited the movie. Wow, that's pretty good. Makeup and hair. Music. Best Picture. All right. The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, Mank, Minari, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, Trial of the Chicago's. I have seen none of these. Oh, except for Judas. No, I haven't seen any of them. I haven't seen nothing. I have to catch up. Brian, I'm going to presume that Maria has seen all of these. I know she's very big into the Academy Awards. I once had a chance to go to the Academy Awards. I knew some friends that were members of the Academy, and they were telling me, if you want to go, we'll take you. And I was like, oh, that would have been awesome. But I kind of didn't really want to go back then. I figured I would have plenty of time, but obviously I didn't because I never went. So we got quite a few here. Any favorites that you guys have? And here's the interesting thing. Like, I don't know if you did we talk about this last week? Like, The Weeknd. Yeah, we did talk about this last week. But like I said last week, The Weeknd has said that he will no longer go to the Grammys in the future because his song that sat in the top 10 for 52 weeks was not nominated for a Grammy. So he was really upset. And, you know, like I know I mentioned this last week, but the truth is that here, the Oscars, you know, people get upset or whatever, but really the Oscars, again, are just, in many respects, a popularity contest amongst the members of AMPAS, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. So if you're a member, you're going to be voting on it, then really, you know, yeah. So it's going to be Sunday, April 25th. Oh, it's still a while away. All right, so that is the nominations for the Academy Awards. Should be kind of interesting. And then, so what else is happening in the news? So evidently, Governor Cuomo from New York is fighting for his political future. I haven't really followed it. Another politician with a sex scandal. Is that really news? Is that something, you know, new? I don't know. And then also the FBI has released new footage of people attacking the police during the Capitol riots. Or I guess terrorists attacking the police at the Capitol riots. I guess they're going to be finding more people to arrest. And I was listening to this article, or I was listening to this podcast called Easy Money. And they were talking about those NFTs, right? The non-fungible tokens, and how this one artist who does digital work Christie's reached out to him and said, hey, would you like to do some art for Christie's for the auction? And they did an NFT for it. And it sold for $59 million. Evidently, that's the most ever paid for a piece of art by a living artist. By like $10 million. I was like, wow, that's crazy. I don't really understand this NFT, and I don't know. And people that I know in the art world, some of them are kind of like up in arms, like they're like, we don't, they hate it, and I don't really understand why they hate it. I mean, if you're an artist and you can make a living and make money out of it before you're dead, that's probably a good thing. Maybe. I don't know. Oh, and I don't know if you saw this. Let me put this up here again. So this manta ray has photobombed this surfer. Look at this guy. He didn't know that the photographer Rusty Escandel didn't know that a huge manta ray jumped on the water to look at the photo. Look at that. That is pretty wild. That's kind of neat. So I have a group of friends of mine. They were like sending out these things this week about the whole March Madness thing. They sent out these brackets. I don't know if you're supposed to bet on them, but you fill out the bracket to think for round robin style who's going to win the March Madness. And I think we're supposed to bet. I didn't do it because I don't really understand it. Like, I don't really follow basketball, so I'm not really too. Like, I would just be guessing. Like, I have no real urgency for it. Although my father really loves that kind of stuff. Like my father, like the other day I talked to him and he was all kind of dejected because Maryland lost. I was like, oh man, terrible. So it's still going. Still, as you can see like this, like there's still a lot of smoke. Smoke is good, the flavor's good. So we're well into the second third, moving to the third, the last third, the final third. Like, you know, in the article, you know, in the review that From halfway, they talk about being chalky, dry. There's a slight, maybe right now there's maybe a slight dryness on the palate, on the tongue. I wouldn't say, it's definitely not a negative thing. I have to say that we're looking at the time, it's 9:45. It's a long smoke. It smokes long, like you're getting your money's out. If you want, if cigar is about time spent, you're getting your money out of this. We're probably a good hour, 20 hour, 15 minutes into it. What are you guys smoking tonight? That's what I'm interested in knowing. Tell me what you guys smoking. Or what did you guys smoke this week? Anything really good? What did I smoke? I smoked I smoked one of the Padron 4000 Maduros. That was quite good. And then, what else? Anything else? What I did? I've been trying some of these TAA specials from Tatuaje. That was part of the Saints and Sinners pack this year. Those are pretty decent. They're okay. And then I've got these Don Pepin Garcia white label Belicosos that one of my good friends gave to me. And, you know, it's interesting, like, traditionally I'm not really a fan of Pepin Garcia's, like, my father's stuff. But this box has been quite interesting. Like, as I've been smoking it, you know, I've probably done almost 10 cigars out of the box, maybe halfway through the box at the very most. Maybe I've only smoked 6 or 7, but there are cigars, times when I smoke those cigars, and they're really, really good. Like I'm like surprisingly good. And then like the last one that I smoked, just not hitting the notes that I really like. And I don't know, and I think maybe that's because I smoked something before it that kind of set the stage for me, or kind of took away from it. I'm actually trying to see where my phone is, so I could tell you what I smoked before, but I seem to have misplaced it. Well, whatever. Won't worry too much about that. But, yeah, so it should be kind of interesting. Oh, so Brian says that he's smoking the cigar for next week's show. So you're smoking the Kung Pao Toro, right? How is that? What do you think about it? Tell me what you think about it. Oh, also, we've got the mailbag to go through. I got some packages this week. I don't really know what's in them. Like this one is from Kitchen Arts and Letters in New York City. And I don't know if we spoke about these guys, but Rusty, we're familiar with them, but Kitchen Arts and Letters is a bookstore up in, I think, in the west side of New York City. And they're really focused on culinary books, not just from American publishers, but they also source books about cookbooks and stuff like that from around the world. Some from really, really great chefs. So I don't know, I don't remember ordering anything from them, so I don't know what's in here. Let's open it up and see what they sent. Brian says he doesn't want to ruin this. All right, fine. Oh. This nicely wrapped. Bubble wrap. Oh, yes. Let's see what the note says. Thank you for attending our virtual workshop with Lisa Ludwinski. We hope this session and the book will provide some much needed inspiration during this challenging time in our industry. Please don't reach out if you ever need anything from us. This is from Star Chefs. And like Rusty says, Upper East Side. Okay, I wasn't really sure if it was Upper East or Upper West. 92nd. Have you actually been there? Because I've never had the time to go there. I've only met the guys and seen their wares at the Star Chefs conference. All right, so let's see. So this is actually a book that I might have mentioned and showed you several weeks ago, where I was attending this online seminar about European butters, and they sent the box that had the little butter. The butter boat. I actually used that at a dinner not too long ago. And so they're supposed to send us an accompanying book. So this is a book called Sister Pie from Lisa Ludwinski. She was the host of the seminar. Here's her picture. This is quite exciting, actually. So it's all about pies. Oh, yeah, really nicely done. Like nice quality paper. Here it is, kitchen arts and letters. They give a little book, a little bookmark. Look at that, apricot rose, raspberry rose galette. Nice. Ginger peach biscuit pie. Cranberry crumble pie. Nice, excellent. There have been too many times when I have to go. When I go, I have to. You really do have to go. You have to leave it because when we're at Star Chefs, man, they have all those books. I'm just like, oh my God, I must have. And they're really great because one day I ordered this book. What book did I order? I ordered a book for whatever book it was. I can't remember. Sorry, I can't remember. They're really great because I ordered this book and they sent me the order. However, they sent me the wrong book. They sent me Kenji Lopez Alt's the Food Lab book. And I was like, hey man, I called them up and said, hey, I ordered this book and you sent me this book, would you like me to return it? And they're like, oh no, we'll send you the correct book and you can keep the other book. I was like, well, I can keep the Kenji Lopez book? All right, that's great. So I was pretty stoked about that. So they're really great. So if you're looking for cookbooks of all sorts, I mean, I've got books from like Juan Marie Arzak from them, who's a really fantastic chef out of San Sebastian, Spain, and just beautiful stuff. And so Rusty's asking here, speaking of kitchen arts and letters, have you flipped through the Ferran Adria coffee book? Flip through that thing. This thing is an absolute massive tome. It's heavy. It's like freaking heavy. Like uncomfortably heavy. Actually, it's really heavy, called Coffee Sapiens, right? I flipped through it. Like I bought it. Like I saw it and I was like, I'm buying that. I will have this book. Because first of all, I'm a fan of Ferran. I am a fan. I would like to go to his places. But but the interesting thing is I was really surprised because this guy, like you think about chefs, right? And chefs typically don't really think too much about coffee. And the ones that do talk about coffee, they're kind of off. They're just off. But this stuff that I've seen in here, and I haven't read the entire thing. Like I really should. What I really want to do is sit down and read it. But really, he's really good. Like he turned to Cafe Imports, got their, oh good Lord, got their coffee genus tree here, and then he really has solid information about coffee in this book. Like this is a great coffee book to have. Oh, Cafe Paulista. The first, like one of the very first cafes in the world. Look at this. A history of roasting and grinding and God, this is like crazy good. And so here's the interesting, is the barista a cook? Well, I gotta hold it this way because I can barely hold the damn thing up. Look at this guy, preparing food from pre-prepared products. Like he's going into it. Like he's taking his style and going off on coffee, and it scares me. I'm scared and envious. So yeah, Rusty, this is the deal. This is, if you're into coffee and you want to spend your crazy money on something that's well worth the crazy money. Actually, it's not that crazy money. I think it's like $50, or it could have been $150. I don't remember. And actually, I didn't really think too much about it. I saw it. I was like, I'm having that book from El Bulli Foundation. Ugh. Like I'm actually grunting because it's quite. No, it's not signed. Like Rusty's asking, was it signed? I don't think so. I did not get the signed one. I don't even recall if I bought this from Kitchen Arts. I gotta. Oh, it is. It is. Oh. And I did get it from Kitchen Arts and Letters. I just remember seeing it, and I was like, I'm ordering that thing, whatever the cost. Yeah. Why did you put that? Why did you put that up there? Now I feel bad. But it's well worth it. Well worth the money. Especially if you're into coffee, if you're a coffee person. Like this, I think is well worth the investment. More so than many of the coffee books that people tout out there in coffee world. But I do like it. I think it's a great book. I mean, but I just need to take the time to read. Like, finding the time to really read has been quite challenging. The one book of coffee that I do tend to read a lot is this one, Coffee Life in Japan. I've been reading it again this past week or so because I've been one of the videos I'm working on for the YouTube channel is a video about Cafe del Hombre, which is that place I go to in Tokyo, and he's the owner there, Ichihiro Sekiguchi, is actually quite featured in this book a bit, and as one of the coffee maniacs. And so I've been using this as one of the reference points for the video, and it's been a long process. And actually, what I'm doing for that one is, my first visit there was in 2007. We were there in the summer of 2007. We went there, and I ended up shooting video there of our visit, and I recently digitized that footage again, and so I decided to make that into one of the upcoming YouTube videos. But it's been a long process, so I'm using the footage from that day, from that visit. So I'm really trying to write the video, produce the video from the perspective of 2007, because as we go forward past the pandemic and then we start going back, it's going to be, I'll do more about Cafe del Hombre, but more from a modern perspective rather than, a perspective 13 years ago. Russ says, why feel bad? It's a great research. Oh, no, I don't really feel that bad. Oh, man. Albert Audrey. Yeah. You sent me the copy of that, didn't you? The Albert Audrey. That was great, too. Yeah, those guys, they're really, really forward-thinking guys. They're the kind of guys that it's going out. Too much talking. They're the kind of guys that do so much and know so much about the craft, their own craft, that you feel like a charlatan. Okay, we're going to go with the relight. The Cirillo style relight from just around the edge. I'm using the Partagas flame made by, I don't know who makes this. Tony will know. It's not Cigar, it's that other brand, not Jetline. They have a little metal insert here so that, I don't know if it shows, but, oh, maybe it's worn out. This flame used to be red. Oh, there it is. You can kind of sort of see it in the middle. Maybe not in the video, but you can sort of see it here. So the relight went well. There's no real bitterness or off flavors yet. Let's have another drink. Yeah, this Perla Negra is a cold brew, really. It's very solid. Even in this Lombre style of cold brewing, man. So if you missed that, what I did is after I brewed the coffee and the Nell, we put it into this little shaker and laid it on a bed of ice and then spin it. You spin it so that the heat transfers out, and and it chills the liquid, and it's really, really effective. I mean, it's super surprising how well that works. So I'm really enjoying this cigar overall, which is surprising because, like I said at one point, like, I tend to have a generally negative perception about these large cigar conglomerates that make cigars. They're not. The expectation is that they're not going to hit on any real interesting notes, or they'll tend to be kind of flat and a little bit, boring. But this one is quite enjoyable. So what else happening in the news? So evidently the last Airbus 380, which is the super jumbo jet, the double-decker jet, the last one that they produced has finally taken flight. So after this point, they're no longer producing them. So this was supposed to be like the 747 killer, right? And it's quite an interesting aircraft. Like, I flew on one from London to Bangkok several years ago. Probably about 5 years ago I flew on it. And it's massive. It's a massive plane and really impressive. But I've always been a fan of the 747. So I'm a little bit hesitant. But the 380 was, it's just that it's so big. Like, it's too big for a lot of the airlines, especially now with the pandemic and the collapse of the airline industry. So they've actually stopped production, and people have stopped ordering them. A number of the airlines have started to scrap them, and then the aircraft's like maybe 10 years old. So it's really kind of interesting and kind of a significant thing that production has ceased so soon. Like, comparatively, the 747 is starting to come to the end, probably the end of its run. Like, from when I was reading somewhere that Boeing only has maybe 2 more years left of production in Washington State for the 747, the 8-9 series, before they're finished with all the orders. And but that was released, 1971? So it's been in service for 50 years. So it's had a good run, where the A380's only been in service for like 10 years. So I'm sure that's a bit of a hit for Airbus. And then other news is happening. Angie's List, that alternative to Craigslist. I don't really use Angie's List because you have to subscribe to it, and I'm not a subscription fan. But evidently Angie's List has changed their name to Angie. So where Angie's List was ANGI''S, ANGIE''S, like Angie, this Angie has become ANGI, and that's it. Why? I didn't read why, but evidently, I don't know. Man, this is going well. And then on other news I saw, I'll pull this up here so you guys can see it. Italians face $60,000 in fines, or 50,000 euros in fines, for selling this cheese called, what's it called? Oh, now I can't. Casu Marzu, which is supposedly the world's most dangerous cheese. Let me pull that picture up for you guys to see. This is the cheese that shepherds cultivate from goats in the island of Sardinia, and they allow these flies to lay their eggs in the cheese, and the eggs hatch into maggots that they then mix thoroughly with the soft center, as you can see here, and then eat with the maggots. Now the problem with that is that the flies are called Piophila casei, right? And so the maggots grow in the cheese and you eat it, And it's supposedly some people believe that it's considered an aphrodisiac. But the concern here is that the maggots, when you eat them in the cheese, they could survive in your stomach lining. Like the bile, the bile may or may not kill them. And it creates something called myiasis, which means that these things can create micro perforations in your intestines, which can potentially kill you. However, no cases have ever been found. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Let's see. So these are, they're sheep's milks. I mean, you can kind of see it there. Like there's maggots in there. Like I've seen this. Like I've seen reports about it before, but it's like, wow, that's some craziness, man. So, Casu Marza. Needless to say, they don't import that to the United States. But I guess I would be kind of interested to see what it tastes like. All right, so this is going pretty well. So the big question is, would I buy it again? And I think yes, I probably would buy this again. This is it's quite good. Although, like, let's see if we go back to our half wheel report, right? Let me bring that back up here again. So here we are. We'll go through it. So at half wheel, they gave it an overall score of 86. Pull that up there, right there. And it's interesting. Like let's go more into what he's saying here, right? You can see what he's writing. For overall, familiar, damp earth, black pepper, some woodiness with drier versions in the second half. He says it's generally enjoyable, the brushes with tar notwithstanding. And then towards the end of it, he's talking about how he's undecided as to what he thinks about it for his humidor. And that he does want to try it a couple more times to see how it performs. But I don't know. I mean, I kind of have the feeling that, like, based on what he had written, I mean, he does say generally enjoyable. Like, I'm not sure if 86 is really reflective of what he says in his article overall. Like, I wonder if it, based on what he was writing, I wonder if it, it could be more of like an 82, a little bit lower on the scale. And I wonder if the 86 that he's giving it is more because maybe they feel like it'd be offensive for them to go lower. Because he does note that General Cigar advertises on Half Wheel. So it makes me wonder, like, because they're one of the advertisers, how much that might play into the score, because it seems like he's tempering his score. Because I think it was one of the cigars we smoked like 2 weeks ago that they also gave an 86, and I don't know, but comparatively speaking, what he was writing about in his article for the 3 cigars he smoked, it doesn't really compare to what I'm having. Like, I'm not finding a lot of commonality with his experience to mine tonight. Like, I think that my experience is better than what he's writing about, meaning that I think I find this more enjoyable. I would, if I was to rank it, maybe 86, maybe 88, somewhere right around there would be kind of where I would probably grade this. Like, it's a solid tobacco flavors, some cocoa, maybe a little bit of woodsy, some chocolate, maybe some of the coffeeness, maybe there, but that's the first time I've said that. It's pairing very well with this Perla Negra. Like, there's a nice, the boldness and the robustness of both are about matching. So they're not, like, this is not a powerhouse of a strength of a cigar. Like, it's about a medium in strength, good flavor, medium flavor. But based on the three that Patrick LaGrade smoked and this one, it does make me wonder, like, will there be consistency issues in the cigar as you go forward? So, Di, if you're still there, like, one of the things I'd be interested to know is, as you're smoking through your box, will you be finding it to be consistent in the experience? One of the things I also wanted to note that this particular cigar, for one of the fillers, it's using this filler from the Dominican Republic called the Andullo. And Andullo tobacco is a fermentation technique that's primarily from the Dominican Republic. And while most tobacco is fermented in what they call pilones, which are these basically piles of tobacco that they stack and they wet and they stack and they allow fermentation to occur, and then they restack them depending on when they reach a certain temperature point, right? The Andullo style of fermentation is they take the tobacco and wrap them in palm tree pods, which I don't really know what palm tree pods are. Like, I've seen palm trees. I don't know what pods are. I don't know. I don't know how big they are. Or maybe they're just like the leaves. They wrap and they make them into pods. I'm not sure of that, man. But they roll them out into these palm tree pods into long rolls that they actually call yawas, Y-A-G-U-A-S, yawas. And they do this after they harvest the tobacco. They roll them into the yawas, and then they're bound tightly. And then they say they're rooted into the ground. Now, I don't know what they mean by rooted into the ground. Like, does that mean they partially bury them, or they just tie them down to the ground? That I'm not clear on. And then what happens is after their time, and I'm not sure exactly how long they're doing that for, but it results in a densely packed tobacco log that concentrates the flavor and then even imparts a sweetness to the tobacco. So maybe there's a little bit of sweetness. It's I'm not sure where that, because that's a filler tobacco, so I'm not sure exactly where that's coming into play in the cigar. But overall, this combination of the Andullo and Piloto Cubano, as well as the Jamastran Honduras and the Esteli Nicaragua, with the two different Connecticut wrappers and binders, really is a pleasant, enjoyable cigar. So Di says it's actually a gift for your father. Oh, for Papa Son. Okay, well, maybe ask your dad what he thinks about it as he smokes through it. That'll be interesting to know. Then Rusty's asking, have you tried anything else from CAO? I'd love to hear your opinion on the Pilon. The Pilon, I've had the Pilon twice. And it's been several years, a couple years since I've had the last one. And I had probably the first one. I had the Pilon when it first came out. I recall it being... I don't really recall the experience with it. I don't recall it being... I don't think about it negatively. I think it was probably a good cigar, a nice smoke. It wasn't, because I don't necessarily have a recollection on it, and because I haven't sought it out since I've tried them. I'm presuming now that it didn't fire on all guns for me personally, but I do believe it was a positive, pleasant cigar. Sorry, I don't recall. I mean, we used to. The last time I smoked that was at the old Faders in Reisterstown Road, and so that was. Ooh, man, we're talking now. Towson Faders closed 2 years ago. Right, 2 years ago. Yeah, October of 2019. So the Owings Mills Faders on Reisterstown Road, that closed quite a bit of time. I don't know if a year would be correct, but at least 6 months before the Towson shop closed. So it's been a while for me to have smoked them, and I don't recall seeing them too often. At least at Tobacco Leaf and at the Davidas and Towson recently. For me personally, I think it would probably be something that I would try again if there wasn't anything else to try. And Brian says, Mario's going to bed, so that's me. Good night. All right. Have a good night. Thanks for tuning in, Brian. Really appreciate you coming in tonight. But definitely give the money up. We're still not even finished. We're just entering the last third, I'd say, or we're into the last third. So it's a good long smoke. How's the picture quality, by the way, on your end? Like, what I'm asking is that on the StreamYard free version that I've been using, it only streams at 720p, whereas I think this one is streaming out at 1080p. Like, on my end, I can see it all. Whether I'm using StreamYard or Ecamm, I'm actually seeing it on my end at 1080. So it looks like even on StreamYard, it looks super clean and super clear. However, when I watch the replay on YouTube, it doesn't have the sharpness. So I'm just curious to know, like on your end, how does it look? Does it look pretty sharp or a little bit soft? All right. That's probably good. We should probably head out. It's already 10:15. I still have to get up tomorrow morning early and roast. Got a whole bunch of roasting to do for the weekend. I got some customers that they're asking me if we have certain coffees that I have to roast up. So, all right, so we're going to wrap it up. Thank you very much for coming again and spending this time with me here on a Thursday night. Really appreciate you taking the time. So we'll be back again next week, Thursday night at 8 p.m. with the Punch Kung Pao Toro. So if you have a chance, go grab one for next week. And we'll smoke it together. Oh, Ty says 1080, so you can see the green. Good. Glad to hear it. All right, so that's going to be it for tonight. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate you spending the time with me. And see you next week.